P.S. Key point to note. The protagonist had a love brain in his previous life, but Bibidong didn't have a green protagonist. Even in the original work, Bibidong didn't have any relationship with Yu Xiaojiang, did he? Chasing husband crematorium plus abdominal black plus decisive killing plus red beauty, crossing the Douluo continent, he became a childhood sweetheart of Bibidong. Due to awakening the unparalleled martial soul with 12 wings and falling angel martial soul, he was adopted by the martial soul hall Pope Qianchengxiao as his adopted son and named Qianchengxiao. Blessed by heaven, forever soaring in the sky. The companionship of childhood sweethearts is ultimately inferior to that of heaven, or rather, the plot is killing. 10 years of constant companionship and care are no match for the trash who suddenly broke in. Lick the dog until the end with nothing. However, due to the appearance of that useless person, his adoptive father Qianchengxiao gave the title of Chamber of Secrets Douluo to his adopted son Qianchengxiao. Although Bibidong gave birth to his daughter Qianchengxiao, it was precisely because of this that Bibidong hated him for a lifetime. Qianchengxiao died in the hands of Bibidong, and he, due to his daughter Qianchengxiao and her guilt towards her, ultimately died in the hands of Tang San to save her. Reborn again at the moment of being adopted by Qianchengxiao, Qianchengxiao realized how sad licking dog was. Bibidong. Chengxiao, I was wrong. Please come back. Qianchengxiao. Late and deep affection is even more despicable than grass. Keywords of the novel. Douluo. Bibidong, why are you crying after I leave? No pop-up window, Douluo. Bibidong, why are you crying after I leave? Download the complete set of TXT, Douluo. Bibidong, why are you crying after I leave? Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. The Forgotten Man. To compare the shoulders of mortals to gods. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. The Forgotten Man. To compare the shoulders of mortals to gods. He. Bibidong, who was severely injured and knocked down by Tang San, has lost all his soul power and is now on the brink of death. She went from her monster-like appearance to her original appearance again, but lost her former nobility and coldness, and looked very down and out. Xiaojiang, why choose her instead of me? Bibidong, with her disheveled hair, looked so disheveled, but when she looked up at Yu Xiaojiang, her lonely and unwilling eyes were filled with determination. Do you really not love me? Bibidong looked at Yu Xiaojiang and Lu Erlong, their hands tightly clasped together, with a hint of different expectations in his dim eyes. Yu Xiaojiang, holding hands with Lu Erlong, trembled slightly when he heard Bibidong's words. Before Yu Xiaojiang could speak, she saw a hint of madness on Bibidong's face, which was extremely embarrassed. She yelled at Yu Xiaojiang in her hoarse voice, Yu Xiaojiang, no one in this world loves you more than I do. You are not favored within the family and are looked down upon by them. Then I'll help you eliminate them. I can do anything for you. Why did you choose this woman instead of me? Is it you? You destroyed the blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex family. Originally trembling in his heart, Yu Xiaojiang, who didn't know how to face the other party, looked at Bibidong with disbelief in his eyes after hearing the news. Later, Yu Xiaojiang trembled and pointed his finger at Bibidong, roaring, crazy. Bibidong, you crazy person. Third, kill this vicious woman. I don't want to dirty my hands. Ha ha ha. Upon hearing Yu Xiaojiang's words, as he watched his attitude towards him, Bibidong laughed wildly as he collapsed on the ground. Smiling and laughing, I burst into tears. Bibidong, suffer death. Upon hearing Tang San's voice, Bibidong, who had already been appointed, closed his eyes. However, at the moment she closed her eyes, a figure and a face she thought she hated the most suddenly appeared in her mind. However, that face has now become blurry and not as clear. Donger, I love you. Mother. Just as Bibidong was about to die in the hands of Tang San, the dual deities of the inherited sea god and the god of Shura, Qianchengxiao, who was originally seriously injured by Tang San, appeared in front of Bibidong and tried to block his fatal blow. When Bibidong, who was originally prepared to die for his mother, and even prepared to die, did not wait until that moment arrived. The sound of the weapon being blocked became so clear at this moment. When Bibidong and Qianchengxiao opened their eyes, they were shocked to find a figure appearing in front of them. It was this figure who blocked Tang San's blow with the pitch-black long sword in his hand. At this moment, the whole audience remained silent. Tang San and his companions looked at the man standing in front of Bibidong, wearing a black iron mask on his face, with a hint of disbelief in their astonished eyes. Because Tang San couldn't figure out who else besides Qianchengxiao could come and help this malicious woman at this moment. And Yu Xiaojiang, who was holding Lu Erlong, looked at the man wearing a black iron mask with an incredulous look in his astonished eyes. Because even though this man wears a mask on his face, his figure and martial soul have not been forgotten by Yu Xiaojiang. However, wasn't this man killed by Bibidong himself? Why did he appear here? Is he really that man? Looking at Qianchengxiao and Bibidong, Qianchengxiao looked at the figure in front of him, her eyes slightly lost. I only felt that the figure blocking in front of the mother and daughter gave her a very familiar feeling amidst the unfamiliarity. And Bibidong, looking at the figure that appeared in front of her, helping her and her daughter block the fatal blow, his eyes slightly froze. Subsequently, the figure blocking her body and the blurry figure in her mind that was almost forgotten by her gradually overlapped. Is that you? When this sentence trembled from Bibidong's mouth, she didn't even realize that her eyes had turned red and were filled with tears. Unfortunately, the person who helped her block the attack did not answer her. What kind of person are you? Why do you want to help this vicious woman? Tang San looked at the person in front of him who was blocking his attack. Even though he didn't exert all his strength, he only used 3 parts of his strength. But he, who has achieved dual divine positions, even these 3 points of strength are not something that extreme Douluo can resist. This is the difference between becoming a god and not becoming a god. The difference between heaven and earth is like a canal separating heaven and earth. Boom! The man wearing a black iron mask in front of Bibidong did not answer Tang San and directly activated his martial soul. With a loud bang, 12 jet black wings spread out from behind the man, and a domineering and unparalleled momentum burst out from his body. Among the crowd present, except for Bibidong and Qianren's snow mother and daughter who were protected by him behind, only Tang San was not affected by the overbearing aura that erupted in his body. As for the rest of the Shrek 7 monsters, as well as the Master Yu Xiaojiang and others, after feeling the domineering and unparalleled momentum, their brows furrowed one by one, and even breathing felt a bit difficult. If it weren't for Tang San's timely resolution, everyone would probably have been crushed to the ground by this extremely domineering momentum. You're that man. When Tang San saw the 12 pitch black angel wings spread out behind the man, his eyes were filled with shock. And Bibidong and Qianchengxiao, who were protected by him behind him, saw the exaggerated and domineering pitch-black 12 wings. One eye was filled with regret, while the other was filled with excitement. Father! Is that you? Qianchengxiao's voice trembled as she looked at the man blocking her. Qianchengxiao. Looking at the resolute figure standing in front of their mother and daughter, Bibidong's eyes were lost and his remorse grew stronger. Until this moment, Bibidong finally woke up. Originally, the person who loves her the most has always been by her side. However, she didn't notice it. At this moment, apart from Qianchengxiao, who else can stand on her side, let alone protect her? Unfortunately, when Bibidong said this name, the person standing in front of her to protect him did not answer, but fought alongside Tang San. Despite not inheriting any deities, relying solely on the power of extreme Douluo, Tang San, who inherited the dual deities, was able to fight back and forth without falling behind, and even faintly suppressing the opponent. At this moment, this man is not to mention in Bibidong's eyes. In everyone's eyes, this mysterious man, at this moment, is standing shoulder to shoulder with a mortal body. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Broken Wings and Bones. Regret is overwhelming. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Broken Wings and Bones. Regret is overwhelming. Qianchengxiao truly deserves to be called a genius demon by his teacher. With a mortal body, it can even faintly surpass my position as a sea god. Tang San and Qianchengxiao were constantly fighting in the air. When this demon, which had been constantly talked about by the teacher, appeared in front of him, he also wanted to see if the man in front of him was as terrifying as the teacher had said. During the battle of Half-Pillar Fragrance, Tang San never gave his all and only relied solely on the power of the sea god to fight against the opponent. It has to be said that Qianchengxiao, this man, is really too terrifying. If the other party also inherits the throne and successfully inherits the throne, even if they have the Shura throne, they may not necessarily be opponents of the other party. The demon in front of him is fighting against him with his ultimate Douluo and mortal body. After such a long time, the opponent's strong and domineering soul power did not weaken at all, but instead, the engagement became stronger. Upon hearing Tang San's words, Qianchengxiao, wearing a black iron mask, did not speak and only launched a continuous attack on Tang San. The 8th Soul Skill. Fallen Angels Falling Wings. Qianchengxiao ignored the other party and silently recited his soul technique in his heart. In an instant, black light emanated from the 12 black wings spread out behind Qianchengxiao. Following closely behind, black wings rained down like raindrops, overwhelming Tang San. Undetermined Storm. Upon seeing Qianchengxiao's move, Tang San directly used the Undetermined Storm in the Sea God 13 styles to freeze Qianchengxiao's attack. Unfortunately, these densely packed wings seemed endless, constantly attacking Tang San. The move of unpredictable storms can only block for a moment. Subsequently, Tang San's entire body was engulfed by the overwhelming black wings. The other woman, third brother. Standing on the ground, watching Qianchengxiao and Tang San engage in battle in the air, when Yu Shaojiang and Shrek saw Tang San being devoured by black wings, they became extremely nervous. Break it for me. Just as everyone was worried about Tang San, who was engulfed by black wings, took out his Shura divine sword and used his divine mind to lock in the position of Qianchengxiao, then cut him off with one sword. With Tang San's sword strike, 1,000-kilometer-long blood-colored sword aura swept towards Qianchengxiao. Father! Don't! With just one sword, Tang San defeated Qianchengxiao's attack. Standing on the ground, Qianchengxiao and Bibidong's 2 daughters saw Tang San's blow and opened their eyes wide, filled with worry. And Qianchengxiao, looking at Tang San's attack, his eyes beneath the mask were devoid of sadness or joy, without any ripples. When the terrifying blood sword energy swept over Qianchengxiao's body, Bibidong let out heart-wrenching cries. Regret, hatred, and disgust instantly filled Bibidong's heart. She regretted not cherishing the person in front of her, that fool with eyes full of hers. Hating oneself, why was it that I was blinded and fell in love with the master, gradually pushing him into the abyss? Hate Yu Shaojiang, detest oneself, detest everything in this world, except for him. But when the sword energy struck Qianchengxiao's body, the sword energy slowly dissipated. But Qianchengxiao appeared on the other side. You are very strong, truly the one that teachers have praised so much. Tang San looked at the reappearance of Qianchengxiao with a hint of amazement in his eyes. If this amazing guy becomes a god, it would be really terrifying. Now, with a mortal body, I can compete with him for a while. If I become a god, I will definitely not be able to defeat him. However, that's all for now. Looking at Qianchengxiao, who was silent, Tang San held the Shura divine sword in both hands and infused the divine power from his body. Shura slash. With the sound of Tang San's Shura slash, a terrifying sword aura several kilometers in size mixed with terrifying murderous aura swept towards Qianchengxiao. This time, Qianchengxiao has been locked down by Tang San and can no longer escape. Facing Tang San's terrifying strike, Qianchengxiao's calm eyes became extremely solemn. Sure enough, the gap between becoming a god and a mortal in this fantasy sewer world is too great to be crossed. However, even so, he will not give up. Behind him, even without that woman, there is still his daughter. Ignite my blood, burn my soul. After appearing for so long, Qianchengxiao, wearing a mask, finally spoke up. However, his voice was so hoarse, as if he had become hoarse. You can tell from his voice that his vocal tract has been damaged. Bibidong heard Qianchengxiao's incredibly hoarse voice, tears streaming down his face. Because the other party has become the protagonist of her Chamber of Secrets Douluo, if it weren't for him being designed by Chihiro Ji, with his love for himself, he wouldn't have become the Chamber of Secrets Douluo. At that time, not only those who saw him, but also those who heard his voice felt extremely disgusted and disgusted. The other party destroyed their own voice in order to make up for it, which is why they have such an incredibly uncomfortable voice. As for why the other party didn't ruin their face, it's because they don't want their children to be born without knowing what their father looks like. As Qianchengxiao's whole body ignited black flames, and the exaggerated 12 black angel wings behind him also ignited black flames, the memories that came to mind in Bibidong's mind also stopped. Extreme destruction. Accompanied by the sound of Qianchengxiao, he transformed into a black meteor and charged towards Tang San's bloody sword energy. In an instant, it seemed as if everything had come to a stop. In an instant, the figure of Qianchengxiao appeared behind Tang San and stood in the sky. With the appearance of Qianchengxiao's figure, Tang San's sword energy shattered with a loud roar. But Tang San's eyes were wide open, filled with disbelief. How? How could it be? The other woman, brother. Third brother. With everyone's exclamation and Tang San's murmur, Tang San's face flushed and he looked down at his heart. There, a black hole of over 20 centimeters appeared. The golden heart was already sluggish, covered in golden cracks, as if it could break at any moment. And Qianchengxiao, who appeared behind Tang San, shed blood from the corners of his mouth. Cough cough, accompanied by 2 coughs, all the wings behind Qianchengxiao exploded, turning into blossoming blood-colored fireworks, and he fell from the air. Father. Watching the figure falling from the air, Qianren Shui rushed towards the other person. Even Bibidong, who was standing behind Qianchengxiao in a daze, went crazy and ran towards the falling figure. With a loud bang, Qianchengxiao's body fell to the ground, then rebounded and his face turned downwards. On the other hand, Tang San, if it weren't for the powerful repair power of the Shura god, this strike would be enough to kill him. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Bibidong, I no longer owe you anything. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Bibidong, I'll never owe you anything again, Qianchengxiao. Qianchengxiao. When Bibidong and Qianchengxiao arrived at Qianchengxiao's side, before Qianchengxiao could pick them up, Bibidong directly hugged Qianchengxiao with a black iron mask on his face and murmured his name. In the past, being held and cared for by Bibidong was Qianchengxiao's greatest wish. But now, having run out of lights and oil, he has let go of everything. Perhaps it was a mistake to travel to this world, become her childhood sweetheart, admire each other, and become her licking dog. Is it true that childhood sweethearts are ultimately not worth a general? Or to be precise, childhood sweethearts are not worth the killing of this plot. When we first traveled to Douluo, we became childhood sweethearts of Bibidong and were adopted by Chihiro Ji together. He even felt very happy, which was an incredibly fortunate thing. But it wasn't until Yu Xiaojiang appeared that he realized that 10 years of constant companionship and care could never be worth a day's worth. He is like a clown, in Bibidong's eyes, perhaps he is just a complete licking dog. He was held in Bibidong's arms and let out a heavy breath. Released, Bibidong, holding Qianchengxiao's body, heard the other person's soft words, which made her feel suffocated. The heart seemed to be pinched by an invisible big hand, so painful that she couldn't breathe. No, I won't, Qianchengxiao. After Bibidong regained his senses, he looked at Qianchengxiao's pitch-black eyes through the cracked black iron mask. The other person's gaze was filled with a sense of liberation. Father, can I take another look at your face? Qianchengxiao, who was kneeling on the side, looked at Qianchengxiao, who was being held in Bibidong's arms. Qianchengxiao wanted to reach out and take off the mask on the other person's face. Take a look, the father who is about to disappear from memory. No, 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 when Qianchengxiao, who was already on the brink of death, heard Qianchengxiao's words, it seemed like a reflection, and his voice was filled with panic. Unfortunately, I spoke slowly. To be precise, the mission of the black iron mask has been completed. Before Qianchengxiao could take off his mask, the jade finger had just touched it, and the cracked mask had already shattered. How could it be like this? When Qianchengxiao and Bibidong saw the face under the mask, their shocked eyes were filled with disbelief. As for Tang San and others, they stood on the side at this moment, quietly watching their family of 3. They all know that that man can no longer live. Just wait for this brave man who challenges the gods with his mortal body to protect his wife and daughter, and he deserves their inner respect. After all, Bibidong and Qianchengxiao can no longer withstand any waves. So, they left them enough time to wait. Standing on the side, Tang San and others watched as they saw the faces beneath Qianchengxiao's mask, their eyes filled with disbelief and shock. Because the face under that mask has been completely disfigured, except for a pair of eyes that are relatively intact, even the nose is gone. That disfigured face was like being burned and melted by flames, like a crumpled dough, like a monster. Your face. Speaking, Bibidong reached out and touched Qianchengxiao's disfigured face, which looked somewhat terrifying and terrifying. His voice trembled and tears streamed down his face. Father, why did your face turn like this? In Qianchengxiao's memory, his father's face is the most beautiful face in this world, and there is no one. That gentle, everything towards her, loving her father, ever since she was killed by her mother, she has started to hate each other. But now, seeing Qianchengxiao's destroyed face, Qianchengxiao's tears poured down like rain. She knew that this was her father, the martial soul, unique and irreplaceable. The feeling of blood connections cannot be deceived. But how could my father's face turn like this? It's all said, don't look. I don't want you to see me like this. Upon hearing Qianchengxiao's words, Qianchengxiao's hoarse voice was filled with helplessness. For Bibidong, from this moment on, no, or in other words, when he almost died in the hands of the other party, he no longer owed them anything. This time I came just to end Qianchengxiao's life as a sorrowful licking dog. After all, he is also a man from this family. Someone used to dislike my face, and seeing it made her feel nauseous. After accompanying you for a few years, it was destroyed after I disappeared from the martial soul hall. Qianchengxiao's voice is very light, very light. But in Bibidong's ears, it was so deafening that her body completely froze. Bibidong, in a state of collapse and stagnation, Bibidong heard Qianchengxiao's call and regained his senses slightly. He quickly lowered his head to look at the other person and met him. Qianchengxiao, you said you hate my voice, so I ruined my own voice. You said, I feel nauseous when I see my face, and now I'm ruined too. No, it's not. It's not like that. Every word spoken by Qianchengxiao was like a sharp sword piercing her heart, causing her heart to ache so hard that she couldn't breathe. Can only hold the other person and keep whispering. You said, destroying a woman's innocence is like taking her life. This time, I have completely returned this life to you. From now on, we will not owe each other. No, it's not like that. Qianchengxiao, it's not like this. It's me who has always owed you. F/4*= listening to Qianchengxiao's words, Bibidong felt like 10,000 arrows piercing through his heart. The pain and regret in his heart were even more painful and unbearable than when she led the martial Soul Hall to defeat Tang San. Bibidong hugged Qianchengxiao and murmured in pain, "Chengxiao, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. In the next life, when we're together, I'll serve you as a cow and a horse, okay? Next life. Hee hee." Upon hearing Bibidong's words, Qianchengxiao burst out laughing. The laughter was filled with self-deprecation and he said, "Let's just forget about the next life. If I could start over, I hope I won't meet you again. I don't love anymore, I won't love anymore." Qianchengxiao, lying in Bibidong's arms, gradually lost his expression in his eyes and his pupils dilated. "Father." Looking at Qianchengxiao lying in Bibidong's arms, losing his breath, Qianchengxiao collapsed and burst into tears. But Bibidong, upon hearing what Qianchengxiao had said, was completely confused and collapsed. "No, it's not." Feeling Qianchengxiao slowly losing his breath in his arms, Bibidong kept whispering, wanting to refute the other person's words, but unable to do so. And Qianchengxiao, gazing at the scene before her, remained silent for a long time, tears silently streaming down her cheeks. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Heartbreaking Pain. The Most Regretful Bibidong. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Heartbreaking Pain. The Most Regretful Bibidong. When the clear wind blew by, Qianchengxiao, who had lost his life in Bibidong's arms, turned into ashes and dissipated with the wind. "Chengxiao. No. No. My Chengxiao, you give it back to me." Watching Qianchengxiao suddenly turn into ashes in his arms and dissipate with the wind, Bibidong completely collapsed. He was constantly grabbing the dust on the ground with both hands, as if this could bring Qianchengxiao back. Tang San and others stood on the side, watching Bibidong, who had completely collapsed and gone crazy, one by one in silence. Looking at the other person's pitiful appearance, I was filled with mixed emotions for a moment. "Xiao San, give them a ride." Yu Xiaojiang, holding Lu Erlong, looked at Bibidong, who had already gone crazy, with a hint of unbearable expression on his face. Qianchengxiao, who was kneeling next to Bibidong, heard Yu Xiaojiang's words and sneered as she looked at his hypocritical face. "Our family doesn't need you, a hypocrite, to pity us." After speaking, Qianchengxiao held the angel sword in her hand and stabbed it from behind Bibidong. With a puff sound, Qianchengxiao pulled out the angel sword from Bibidong's body and quickly wiped it towards his neck. This scene shocked Tang San and others. Looking at Qianchengxiao, who had fallen to the ground and lost his life, and watching Bibidong kneeling on the ground with his eyes gradually losing focus, everyone was filled with mixed emotions. And Bibidong, with the passage of life, came to mind his own life, like a fleeting observation of flowers. "Donger donger, try it. This is the honey I picked for you from the back mountain, it's so sweet. Donger, donger, this is the hot pot I specially developed for you. It's delicious, give it a try. Donger, here you are. The brown sugar I brewed for you, Angelica sinensis ginger honey water, is not bitter at all." The voice of Qianchengxiao kept ringing in her mind, and the face that she had forgotten to be blurry slowly emerged in her mind. That was the second year she and he had just been adopted by Qianchengxiao. Qianchengxiao was like a follower, following her every day, caring for her. When he didn't like breakfast at that time, he made delicious cakes for her in various ways in order to keep up with his nutrition. When she came to the moon, her stomach was sore, and the specially made Bibidong brand soup that the fool had made for her could always alleviate her pain. That decade of constant care and love has made her a habit for a long time. Or, just like the words he said when he pierced his heart as if he were himself, the beloved will always have confidence and fearlessness. And she, in front of him, has always been the fearless presence. She also knows that he is good to her. She feels that it is only natural for her to enjoy the other person's kindness, and it is also natural for them to treat her well. Until Yu Xiaojiang appeared, she fell madly in love with this man. In order to prevent Yu Xiaojiang from not accepting her, she felt that the young man who stuck to her every day was so unpleasant. Even if she scolded him and chased him away, he never left and kept smiling behind her. However, the most disgusting thing for her was that this guy had been crazily targeting the other person since Yu Xiaojiang appeared, and he often said that the other person was not good in front of her, which also led to her growing disgust towards him. Until this moment, she suddenly regretted and realized that it was not Qianchengxiao's jealousy of Yu Xiaojiang, nor was it Qianchengxiao's petty heart. But from the beginning, Qianchengxiao had already seen through Yu Xiaojiang's hypocritical face. The funniest thing is that when Qianchengxiao punched Yu Xiaojiang for some unknown reason, she discovered it. She didn't even ask, just slapped Qianchengxiao in the face and angrily scolded him for letting him go, making him this despicable person disappear forever in front of her. And to be frank, seeing the other person makes her feel nauseous. He is the person she hates the most in this world, one of them. Don't you want me to be happy? Then disappear forever in front of me, and I can be happy. Seeing you makes me feel nauseous. I never thought there would be such a disgusting person like you in this world. These two sentences have indeed had an impact. Without the disturbance of Qianchengxiao during that period, Bibidong was able to spend time alone with Yu Xiaojiang. She felt that that time was her happiest time. She, who was immersed in the river of love, did not consider Qianchengxiao's feelings at all. If it weren't for being heartbroken, with his constant care and love over the past 10 years, he would never have stayed away from her for such a long time. If he hadn't been deeply hurt, he would never have come to find her. If it weren't for the Chamber of Secrets Douluo incident arranged by Qianchengxiao, he would never have appeared in front of her. It was precisely because of the Chamber of Secrets Douluo incident that he owed her 1,000 times more kindness. However, he was already disgusted with him, and with the addition of the Chamber of Secrets Douluo, Bibidong wished to eat his flesh and drink his blood. If it weren't for Chihiro's threat, she would have killed the other party long ago. It was precisely because she had killed Qianchengxiao and no longer threatened him that she personally killed him. Perhaps, my current despair and breakdown are far less painful than what he felt at that time. This sad and pitiful life kept flashing through Bibidong's mind. In just a few breaths, Bibidong felt like he had looked back on his entire life. That sad, pitiful and hateful life. If God were to give her a chance, even if she gave up the whole world, she wouldn't be giving up on him. Thinking of this, Bibidong, who was lying in a pool of blood, lost his focus and his pupils slowly began to dilate. My eyes are getting darker and darker. Chengxiao, I was wrong. I was wrong from beginning to end. The deep affection that touches oneself is just licking the dog. Hee hee. Lick the dog until the end, nothing. On the mountaintop behind the martial Soul City, a young lady sat on the mountaintop, gazing at the distant sea of clouds in the sky, her eyes slightly narrowed. Qianchengxiao, who thought he had died, was actually reborn and returned to the second year when he and Bibidong had just been adopted by Qianchengxiao. With complex emotions, Qianchengxiao, who was only 7 years old, ran straight to the back. After sorting out his thoughts, Qianchengxiao took a deep breath. In this life, if I were to be her Bibidong's licking dog, I wouldn't be a leader. Qianchengxiao, you're just a big licking dog. Chengxiao, you're not a licking dog, no. This time, I will definitely not miss you again. Perhaps even heaven pitied her and gave her a chance to be reborn and make up for her mistakes. Bibidong, who had just been reborn, had firm eyes. Now is the third day that Chengxiao and I have just been adopted by Qianchengxiao, everything is just in time. End of this chapter. Chapter 5 Qianchengxiao. We are not familiar. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Qianchengxiao. We are not familiar. Now is the third day that Qianchengxiao and I have just been adopted by Qianchengxiao, and everything is in time. That's right, there's time, there's still time. It's too late, oh no, I forgot that today it was my adoptive father and teacher who took me to the Soul Beast Forest to obtain the Soul Ring. Qianchengxiao, who was originally sitting on the mountaintop and letting go of everything, suddenly woke up in shock. Qianchengxiao was his adoptive father, while Douluo became his teacher. It is precisely because of its mutated divine-level martial soul, even more powerful than the mutated 12-winged fallen angel martial soul. Because of this martial soul, when Douluo saw him, he almost thought he was the illegitimate son of Qianchengxiao who had messed up outside. After all, Chihiro has yellow hair and is handsome. And Qianchengxiao, this little guy, although he doesn't have a head of yellow hair, his appearance is even higher than that of Qianchengxiao. Perhaps it was because of the 12-winged fallen angel soul that his hair was black instead of yellow. The information obtained from the brainpower of Douluo made Qianchengxiao somewhat doubt whether Qianchengxiao was his illegitimate child who was wandering outside. But the problem is, he doesn't even have a woman, where did he have an illegitimate child? So, in the end, Douluo took him as his disciple, and Qianchengxiao happily took Qianchengxiao as his adopted son. After sorting out his thoughts, Qianchengxiao patted the dust on his body and turned down the mountain. There's nothing to be infatuated with anymore. Is this the taste of infatuation? Smell the taste of Qianchengxiao well. Qianchengxiao, my Qianchengxiao, Bibidong, lying in bed, buried his young body under the blanket. This blanket is exactly the one she and Qianchengxiao were covering, because they were adopted by Qianchengxiao. In this unfamiliar environment, she was quite scared, and since both of them were small, apart from each other, she had no reliance in this unfamiliar environment. So, she and Qianchengxiao have been living together since they were young. I don't know when she kicked Qianchengxiao out, and since then, she feels that Qianchengxiao, who revolves around her every day, has become increasingly disliked in her eyes. Perhaps it is precisely because of Qianchengxiao's preference for her that her attitude towards Qianchengxiao has become increasingly reckless. After all, no matter what, the other person will come back to her side. Bibidong, who was buried under the blanket, constantly recalled the little things about the two of them in his mind. Every time he thought about how the other person was good to her, and then thought about how he treated the other person, Bibidong, who was originally buried under the blanket and greedily smelled the breath left by Qianchengxiao, felt a twinge of pain in his heart. Qianchengxiao, this time, I will never give up on you again. Speaking of this, Bibidong's eyes showed firmness. Your Highness, the Pope has instructed you to go to the papal palace. Just as Bibidong was falling into remorse and self-blame, the voice of the guards came from outside the door. By the way, today is the day when Qianchengxiao and Douluo took Qianchengxiao to the Star Forest. When Bibidong heard these words, his beautiful eyes widened slightly. I'll see Qianchengxiao soon. This time, let me take the initiative. Speaking of this, Bibidong's eyes curved into crescent-shaped shapes, and the corners of his mouth were raised. In her mind came the beautiful life of the two in the future. In addition to her daughter Qianchengxiao, she also gave birth to many lovely children for him. Shake away the scene that came to mind, Bibidong is now looking forward to meeting Qianchengxiao again. Thinking of this, Bibidong's eyes were full of energy. After all, she was reborn. She doesn't believe it, she can't even win a little kid, let alone the fact that Qianchengxiao is completely devoted to her now. Hee hee. Hee hee, hee hee, hee hee, I don't know if it was because I was getting excited about seeing Qianchengxiao, or if I thought of something else, which made Bibidong sit on the bed and let out a strange smile. If anyone could see this scene here, they would definitely be shocked for 100 years. After all, a porcelain doll over 1 meter tall sitting on the bed, with a smirk on its face and a strange hee sound, who wouldn't be shocked? Your Highness the Virgin. Your Highness the Virgin. In Bibidong's mind, she couldn't help but think of something. With a smirk, she heard the call from the waiter outside again and woke up from her imagination. "Here we go, here we go." As he spoke, Bibidong jumped out of bed and walked towards the door with joy as he was about to see Qianchengxiao. "My adoptive father, teacher." Qianchengxiao galloped all the way from the back mountain and finally met Ghost Douluo and Chrysanthemum Douluo, who came to meet him on the way. They flew back with him all the way. "Otherwise, we will definitely not catch up." As soon as he entered the papal palace, Qianchengxiao saw Douluo and Qianchengxiao, and bowed slightly to them. "Just come, we're ready to set off and search for the most suitable soul beast for you and Bibidong to obtain the soul ring." Qianchengxiao saw Qianchengxiao entering the main hall with a smile on his face, and his eyes were filled with satisfaction as he looked at him. The look in Qianchengxiao's eyes was like looking at his own son. Because Qianchengxiao understood that even his own son's talent would not be better than the demon in front of him. This little guy's mutated martial soul is even more powerful than a divine-level martial soul. And it's also an angel martial soul. It seems that this is the son bestowed upon him by heaven. Although it has only been a few days since Qianchengxiao was adopted as his adopted son, Qian Sun fell ill, but he really treated Qianchengxiao as his own son to cultivate. "Okay, adoptive father." Until Qianchengxiao finished speaking, he realized that at some point, there was a cute little girl standing behind him, like a porcelain doll, looking at him timidly. And this incredibly cute little girl is none other than Bibidong. When Qianchengxiao looked at Bibidong's pair of Cazalan big eyes, he was slightly stunned. The other person looked at him with a very strange look in their eyes. A complex emotion formed by the fusion of emotions such as obsession, attachment, regret, excitement, and a hint of madness. In summary, as much as there is something wrong, there is no more. That way, it's like a little flower fool, or more precisely, a little foolish woman. Although due to the unfamiliar situation, the young Bibidong couldn't do without him. It is precisely because at a young age, Bibidong couldn't do without him and was more attached to him that he later became so dedicated to Bibidong, or more precisely, became her licking dog. But this time, he will definitely not repeat the same mistake. There are so many beautiful women in Douluo, why hang them from this tree? Qianchengxiao. Bibidong's gaze at Qianchengxiao was almost mesmerizing, but Qianchengxiao, upon hearing this, quickly stepped back as Bibidong wanted to hold him. We're not familiar. End of this chapter. Chapter 6 Bibidong. After all, I only have you. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Bibidong. After all, I only have you, Qianchengxiao. Bibidong's gaze at Qianchengxiao was almost mesmerizing, but Qianchengxiao, upon hearing this, quickly stepped back as Bibidong wanted to hold him. We're not familiar. As the cold voice of Qianchengxiao sounded, Bibidong, who had been eagerly looking at him, turned his rosy little face pale. My body trembled slightly, and my eyes were filled with disbelief as I looked at the cold and incomparable Qianchengxiao in front of me. My body couldn't help but take a step back. Impossible. Impossible. How could it be like this? How could it be like this? Feeling Qianchengxiao's indifferent attitude towards her, Bibidong was completely dumbfounded and stood there dumbfounded, murmuring incessantly. But this scene did not fall into Qianchengxiao's eyes. At this moment, Qianchengxiao's attention was attracted by the thousand streams. Stinky kid, come here. When Bibidong fell into self-doubt, Qianchengxiao was called over by Douluo. Teacher, what's wrong? Qianchengxiao came to Douluo and looked at him with mixed emotions. For him, Douluo is even better for him than Qianchengxiao. Even Bibidong, who had killed his son Qianchengxiao, treated his daughter Qianchengxiao as his great-granddaughter. Call me grandpa. Although I have taken you as a disciple, you are also the adopted son of Jie. In the future, call me Grandpa Lao, instead of teacher. Okay grandpa. Upon hearing Douluo's words, Qianchengxiao smiled slightly. And in my heart, I almost collapsed, passing through the most tragic thing in my mind. Otherwise, they would definitely burst into laughter. Jeer, what kind of ghost name is this? Why didn't you pay attention to it before? Yes, I used to focus all my attention on Bibidong, so there was no other focus on him. As Qianchengxiao faced Douluo, Bibidong, who was caught in self-doubt, suddenly froze and then stared foolishly at the young figure standing in front of Douluo. He was also reborn. He must never know that he has also been reborn. Otherwise she can never have any chance in her life. At this thought, a hint of determination flashed in Bibidong's eyes. How can one unknowingly receive his love and care? The self in the previous life hurt him too deeply. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said those words that broke her heart. Bibidong, what are you thinking? It's time to set off. Douluo has already taken Qianchengxiao out, and Qianchengxiao has already left the door of the Pope's palace. Turning his head to look at Bibidong, who was standing in the papal hall and seemed somewhat foolish, Qianchengxiao spoke up and asked the other person. Here we go, teacher. Upon hearing Qianchuan's words, Bibidong regained his senses and quickly ran out. If it were in the previous life, without truly seeing Yu Shaojiang and Qianchengxiao clearly, Bibidong would definitely once again cut Qianchengxiao to pieces. But this life has once again raised a glimmer of hope in Bibidong's heart. That is, Qianchengxiao once again made Qianchengxiao a chamber of secrets Douluo, so that he could tightly bind her and him together. This time, she will definitely not repeat the same mistake. For the person she originally hated the most, it has now become her hope and the person she is most grateful for. It's okay. At this point, she can still stay by the other person's side for 3 years. It wasn't until 3 years later that I slept separately from the other person due to a brain twitch. Thinking of this, Bibidong happily boarded the carriage with Chihiro-ji. In the carriage, as Bibidong entered, Qianchengxiao didn't even glance at the other person and closed his eyes on the carriage to rest. And Bibidong, who boarded the carriage with Qianchengxiao, looked at Qianchengxiao, who was sitting across from him with his eyes closed and focused, and felt a twinge of pain in his heart. Seeing this scene, Bibidong was even more certain in his heart that Qianchengxiao had also been reborn. Since they met at the papal palace, Qianchengxiao's attitude towards her and before leaving, he did not call her, and now that the other party was not sitting with him on the carriage, let alone paying attention to himself, Bibidong felt Qianchengxiao's indifference and estrangement towards her. These two children are interesting today. Especially Chengxiao, this stinky kid, doesn't he like to follow Bibidong the most? Why did you start closing your eyes and recuperating as soon as you got into the car today? Sitting next to Bibidong, Chihiro-ji burst out laughing when he saw the scene inside the car. Could it be that these two little guys are causing some trouble? Speaking of which, Qianchengxiao even took a special look at his good adopted son Qianchengxiao. However, Qianchengxiao, who was sitting there with his eyes closed to rest, completely ignored Qianchengxiao's words as if he had not heard them. On the other hand, Bibidong's eyes lit up slightly as he sat next to Chihiro-ji. Teacher, it's not like that. Last night, Chengxiao and I slept together. I grabbed all the blankets and accidentally kicked him off. He ignored me all morning because of this. Speaking of this, Bibidong's eyes twitched slightly, and he approached Qianchengxiao with a smile, extending his hands to embrace the other person's arm. Feeling his arm being held in someone's arms, Qianchengxiao opened his eyes and looked at Bibidong smiling beside him. His eyes narrowed slightly and he said, "What are you doing? Chengxiao, please don't get angry with me, okay? After all, I only have you." The meaning in this sentence is only clear to herself. While saying these words, Bibidong looked pitifully at the other person. After all, I only have you. Qianchengxiao heard Bibidong's words and whispered softly, with a hint of sneer on his face. Yeah, after all, I only have you left. This sentence, when it comes to him from the previous life, is too devastating. It is precisely because of this sentence that he was given the illusion that Bibidong only has him and only loves him. You have a lot, we are just passers-by. Also, don't act just like me, after all, you're not my one, and I'm not your one either. As he spoke, Qianchengxiao wanted to pull his arm out of Bibidong's arms. Unfortunately, Bibidong's grip was too strong for him to pull out at all. And these words spoken by Qianchengxiao fell into Bibidong's ear, each word like a sharp knife, piercing her heart fiercely, causing her excruciating pain. But she couldn't show any flaws in her expression yet. Thinking of this, Bibidong tightly hugged the other person's arm and smiled slightly at Qianchengxiao, saying, "Good brother, don't be angry. I didn't mean to kick you out of bed last night. I will never kick you out of bed again in the future." Upon hearing Bibidong's words, Qianchengxiao sneered. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Rebirth of the First Bullet. The second martial soul opened. Qi Ji. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Rebirth First Bullet. The second martial soul opened. The origin of tools. On this side, Qianchengxiao had just finished sneering and didn't even wait for him to say anything. Qianchengxiao, who was sitting opposite Qianchengxiao and Bibidong, couldn't bear to watch anymore. "Stinky kid, it's almost enough. Didn't you just kick you to the ground last night while sleeping? As for being a big man, is it just like Bibidongsheng being so grand because of this small matter? They've all gathered around you like Bibidong, haven't they reconciled yet?" Qianchengxiao said, and even deliberately stiffened his face. After all, Qianchengxiao was his adopted son, and Bibidong was also a saint selected by him. These two little guys have terrifying talents one by one, even though Bibidong has innate full soul power and dual martial souls. But compared to the single martial soul of Qianchengxiao, which is even more powerful than the divine level martial soul, the mutated 12-winged fallen angel martial soul, with an innate full soul power of 20 levels, it is still somewhat lacking. Moreover, when he met these two little ones, they were already dependent on each other. Qianchengxiao, who had regarded Qianchengxiao as his married son since the first meeting, had long regarded Bibidong as his daughter-in-law. So, he must take good care of his son's lifelong affairs. Otherwise, how could he be so eager to repair the relationship between these two little guys? After hearing Qianchengxiao's words, Qianchengxiao's mouth twitched slightly. Have you ever thought about being killed by the other person, or being cut with countless knives and bruises, when you are talking to them like this? Lao Deng, you just don't know your fate, otherwise you would never speak to the other party. However, on the other hand, when Bibidong distanced himself from him, it was also Qianchengxiao, the old father, who constantly assisted him in the middle and tried to match the two. If it weren't for Bibidong being lost in his mind by that useless guy Yu Xiaojiang in the end, he would have to be with him. Qianchengxiao wouldn't let Qianchengxiao become a Douluo in the Chamber of Secrets, so he calculated both of them. Thinking of this, Qianchengxiao shook his head slightly and ignored Bibidong, letting him hold his arm and continue to close his eyes to rest. Bibidong, holding Qianchengxiao's arm, looked at Qianchengxiao's profile and smiled slightly, feeling happy in his heart. Although the other party is still distancing themselves from her, they haven't driven her away like they did before. Now, if Qianchengxiao doesn't drive her away, it would be best to let her stay by her side. Take advantage of these past few years, when you are still clinging to the other person in their heart, stick more to their side. When the time comes, wait for Yu Xiaojiang, the useless person, to use him again and let Qianchengxiao continue to misunderstand. In this way, Qianchengxiao will design again, making Qingxiao a secret chamber Douluo. Only with Renxue again can it be possible to bind the other party again. Thinking of this, Bibidong's heart and brain are running wildly and calculating. As for Qianxuan's illness, looking at Qianchengxiao who continued to close his eyes and rest, he felt angry and wanted to give him a chestnut. Stinky kid, who do you want to beat up? Dare to beat up the old man's precious grandson, is it twisted alive? Before Qianchengxiao could reach Qianchengxiao, sitting in the carriage, Douluo, who was leaning against the back seat, slapped Qianchengxiao's head, causing a pile of question marks to appear on his head. Qianchengxiao is pondering whether he is the biological son of Douluo or Qianchengxiao is the biological son of Douluo in life. It's only been 3 days now. If it were 3 years, wouldn't the martial soul city of Noada have lost his position as Qianchengxiao? Take a look, this is having new love and forgetting old love. Before, people used to call him sick, but now he's just a stinky kid. Wusuo. As night fell, Yu Guan and the ghost, who were driving the carriage outside, called the people inside the carriage to rest. And Bibidong, from getting on to getting off the car, has been holding Qianchengxiao's arm all along, afraid that if he releases his grip, the other person will disappear. On the other hand, Qianchengxiao ignored the other party and never said a word to them again since he closed his eyes and regained his composure. Get off and rest now, you can release it. And, I want to practice, don't disturb me. As he spoke, Qianchengxiao withdrew his arm from the other person's arms and chose to sit down against a tree to begin his cultivation. And Bibidong, upon hearing Qianchengxiao talk about cultivation, no longer pestered him. After all, his cultivation talent is so good. If he hadn't put all his thoughts on himself at that time, he would have become a god long ago, and there would have been no such thing happening afterwards. Donger, I want to cultivate well and become the strongest in Douluo continent. Only then can I protect you well. At first, the oath made by the other party came to mind in her mind. Tang San, Yu Xiaojiang, after I obtain Qingxiao, I will make you die hard. I also need to work hard to cultivate, only then will I not end up like that. This time, it's her turn to protect him. Moreover, only stronger than Qianchengxiao can everything be possible. If Qianchengxiao still doesn't accept her words in the future, she will be much stronger than him, and she can use her strong strength to keep the other person by his side. That's right, cultivating and becoming stronger is the only way to keep the other person by your side. Thinking of this, Bibidong obediently chose to sit up not far from Qianchengxiao's side, and began to close his eyes and concentrate on cultivation. These two little guys are so talented and hardworking. We deserve that our martial soul hall is growing stronger and stronger. When these two little guys also grow up, they will be able to destroy all 3 sects and unify the Douluo continent. Looking at Qianchengxiao and Bibidong who were practicing, Qianchengxiao's eyes were filled with pride. That's right, my grandson will definitely reach the summit and become the new peak of this Douluo continent. During the conversation between Qianchengxiao and Douluo, Qianchengxiao, who had just sat down to practice for a short time, suddenly experienced a powerful wave of soul power on his body. With a loud bang, Qianchengxiao, who was originally still closed and focused, suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the dazzling white light ball floating on his chest. His shocked eyes were filled with surprises. The changes that occurred here in Qianchengxiao have also attracted everyone's attention. Even Bibidong, who had just chosen to cultivate, was stunned by the floating ball of light in front of Qianchengxiao. Is this the second martial soul of this stinky kid? Qianchengxiao looked at the light ball in front of Qianchengxiao, with a hint of shock and doubt in his incredulous eyes. As for the two drivers, Yueguan and Ghost, they looked bewildered. And Douluo nodded slightly after hearing Qianchengxiao's murmur. It looks like it is. On the other hand, Qianchengxiao looked at the light ball that appeared in front of him, his eyes filled with surprise. Unexpectedly, he was reborn and even activated the second martial soul. And this second martial soul, known as the origin of tools, has an ability that is definitely at an incredible level. Not to mention being placed in this fantasy sewer world, even in the world of high martial arts, the awakened ability is against heaven. It seems that this is the compensation from the thief god to him. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The second martial soul at the anti-heavenly level. The origin of tools. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. The second martial soul at the anti-heavenly level. The origin of tools. Stinky kid, are you awakening your second martial soul? Even though he learned from Douluo that Qianchengxiao had awakened his second martial soul, Qianchengxiao couldn't help but ask Qianchengxiao. That's right, adoptive father. Fortunately, he awakened his second martial soul. After hearing Qianchengxiao's words, Qianchengxiao stood up and collected the white light ball floating in front of him back into his body. Shouldn't this be? Upon hearing Qianchengxiao's affirmative words, Qianchengxiao quickly approached him and looked at him in front of him. His eyes were full of doubts and he said, if it were a dual martial soul, it should have been discovered when the martial soul awakened at the beginning. How could it be possible to awaken the second martial soul now? Qianchengxiao, who came to Qianchengxiao, looked at Xiao Zhengtai in front of him and asked for his doubts. I'm not quite sure about this either. Anyway, it's just about practicing and suddenly awakening this second martial soul. Upon hearing Qianchengxiao's words, Qianchengxiao's face was speechless. Not to mention the illness of Qianchengxiao, but also the three of Qiandouluo and Moonlight Ghost, upon hearing Qianchengxiao's unparalleled Versailles words, they felt speechless. Listen, is this what people say? While still practicing, I awakened my second martial soul. If that's the case, I practice every day, even by Bibidong, the reborn one, looked at Qianchengxiao with a slightly speechless expression when he heard his extremely profound words. Sure enough, everything has changed. After being reborn, Chengxiao's attitude towards her became increasingly distant. Even in his previous life, he only had a single martial soul, which was a peerless martial soul unique to Douluo continent. And now, Qianchengxiao has awakened a second martial soul that he had never developed in his previous life. All the trajectories have become somewhat different. Just as Bibidong was standing beside him in a daze, Qiandouluo also came to Qianchengxiao. Looking at Qianchengxiao in front of him, his old eyes were full of satisfaction and he said, "Little guy, tell me what your unique second martial soul really is." I looked at it, but I couldn't see through what your second martial soul really is. With the words of Qiandouluo, everyone's attention was drawn, and their gaze was all on Qianchengxiao. My awakened second martial soul is called the origin of the weapon. Can be transformed into any weapon as you please. Moreover, the transformed weapons and martial souls are all top-notch. The most important thing is that the origin of tools is just like the literal meaning. The origin of all tools in the world can devour any weapon soul or even soul beast to enhance evolution. Having the essence of infinite evolution, such as the trident of the sea god and the Shura divine sword, they cannot even be considered scum in front of it. They will all be devoured to nourish themselves. Moreover, while devouring and improving oneself, the origin of the tool can also continuously enhance one's physical fitness, talent, and understanding. This martial soul, not to mention in the Douluo continent of this fantasy sewer world, even if you look at the entire heavens and realms, it is of the kind of mountain peak. However, he did not speak these words to Qiandouluo and others afterwards. Not afraid of 10,000, just afraid of the unexpected. As the saying goes, one must not have the intention to harm others, and one must have the intention to prevent others. Moreover, there is also Bibidong, a mentally disabled person. In the future, when he turns against each other, he also has the means to turn his hands over for clouds and rain. Thinking of this, Qianchengxiao's gaze flickered in his eyes. You Xiaojiang, Tang San, since that's the case, then don't blame him for playing dirty. You Xiaojiang, isn't Bibidong infatuated with you? Then the young master will pry Lu Erlong into his hand and let him personally kill you. As for Tang San, Tang Yuehua and Ian, the young master has intercepted the beard. Let your double-standard dog die in the womb, and see how you come out to be a demon. As Qianchengxiao was contemplating his future plans, Douluo and others stared blankly at him when they heard him introduce their second martial soul, which was against the sky. That gaze, as if looking at a monster. Is there really such an incredible martial soul in this world? Returning to his senses, Qianchengxiao turned his head and stared blankly at his father, Douluo, asking. It should be, there is. At this moment, even the ultimate Douluo of Qianchengxiao is somewhat uncertain. As for the Moon Pass Ghost and the Phantom, the information spoken by Qianchengxiao was no longer within their brain's ability to think. And Bibidong was also shocked by Qianchengxiao's second martial soul. If that's the case, wouldn't it be like adding a soul ring to your second martial soul, which can release different abilities as the weapon changes? If that's the case, then that's the case. It's simply too incredible. Qianchengxiao seemed to have thought of something incredible, and his eyes were filled with shock as he looked at Qianchengxiao. But amidst that deep shock, there was still a hint of anticipation and surprise. In theory, it's like this. Upon hearing Qianchengxiao's words, Qianchengxiao touched his chin and said thoughtfully. Fortunately, the second martial soul's even more incredible ability was not revealed to them. Otherwise, they would definitely be in shock now and unable to regain consciousness for a long time. Heaven bless my martial soul hall, I deserve it to unify the mainland. Wow, click. After confirming his terrible conjecture from Qianchengxiao's mouth, Qianchengxiao burst out laughing excitedly. Even the eyes of Douluo looking at Qianchengxiao showed a hint of excitement. Chengxiao, Chengxiao. Blessed by heaven, forever soaring in the sky. You really deserve this name, and you also deserve our expectations of you. At this moment, even Douluo, who had always been steady, was so excited. As long as this little guy exists in the martial soul hall, when this little guy grows up, he won't be afraid of that old guy Tang Chen. When this little guy fully grows up, it will be the time when their martial soul hall is destroyed by the Haotian sect. Thinking of this, Douluo seemed to think of the beautiful life of stepping on Haotian's sect and defeating Tang Chen in the future. That raised corner of the mouth, harder to press than an AK-47. Stinky kid, isn't your second martial soul able to turn into any weapon as you please? Give me a Haotian hammer quickly. Haotian hammer. Upon hearing Douluo's words, Qianchengxiao's eyes showed a hint of disdain. What kind of thing is Haotian hammer? Grandpa, this 9 dragons heavenly hammer is enough to be its ancestor. Speaking, Qianchengxiao summoned the origin of the weapon. When the primordial light cluster emerged from Qianchengxiao's body, it fell into his hands and directly transformed into a hammer handle composed of 9 black dragon bodies twisted together. And the hammer head is the 9 roaring dragon heads. With this hammer, a domineering and unparalleled momentum burst out from Qianchengxiao's body. Fortunately, Douluo responded promptly and protected Bibidong. Otherwise, the young Bibidong would have been knocked unconscious by this domineering and unparalleled momentum. Newcomers and new books, please collect them and count the tickets. Clear kanji will work hard to write down. Seeking pursuit, seeking care. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Companion is the longest confession of love. Dogs don't even believe it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Companion is the longest confession of love. Dogs don't even believe it. Teacher, I can't sleep without holding on to Qingxiao. Bibidong came to Qianchengxiao and looked at him pitifully, with a face full of grievances. Yo ha. What's wrong? That stinky kid doesn't want to sleep with you anymore. This doesn't look like him. I remember when I adopted you, that little guy was very close to you. I'm going to take you away, but to protect you, he activated his unparalleled martial soul, which scared me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have accepted him as my adopted son either. Why does that stinky kid seem a bit distant from you now? Looking at Bibidong who came to complain in front of him, Qianchengxiao couldn't figure out what was going on. Why was everything okay yesterday? That kid wished he could be by Bibidong's side 24 hours a day, but today, that stinky kid from Qianchengxiao has always been acting very abnormal. Compared to Bidong, his attitude is very indifferent, and he has even been distancing himself from the other party, not even leading the show. Strange, it's really too strange. As Qianchengxiao expressed his doubts, Bibidong, who came to Qianchengxiao's face, twitched her small and cute nose, her eyes immediately turned red, and tears as big as beans flowed down her face. She sobbed and said, "When I was resting, I wanted to sleep with him as usual, but he kicked me out of the tent. No, I was kicked out by him as soon as I entered the tent. What's the difference between men and women? Men and women are not compatible. We're so old, we should sleep separately. But, teacher, without him, I really can't sleep well, nor can I sleep." Upon hearing Bibidong's words, Qianchengxiao looked at the aggrieved Bibidong in front of him and suddenly widened his old eyes, saying, "Stinky kid, it's impossible to turn the tide. Let's go, little girl. I'll take you over and see what he wants. This stinky kid, he really doesn't know what good fortune is when he's in it." Speaking, Qianchengxiao got up and pulled Bibidong towards Qianchengxiao's tent. "Teacher, it's not his fault. I lost him." Qianchengxiao looked at Bibidong, the little girl who was tightly dragging him, not letting him go to Qianchengxiao's tent. He sighed helplessly, "Little girl, just sticking to him now. In the future, you'll have to be eaten to death by that stinky kid." "Teacher, I am willing. As long as I can be with Qianchengxiao, I can do anything. Once, he told me, accompanying is the longest confession, staying together is the warmest promise, and missing is the gentlest waiting. Loyalty is the most infatuated waiting, tacit understanding is the most silent love words, leaving is the most helpless release, and waiting is an eternal promise." As she spoke, Bibidong's thoughts had drifted into the distance, and memories of the little things that Qianchengxiao had done for her in the previous life came to mind again. Careful care and protection have lasted for decades like a day. As Bibidong was in a daze, Qianchengxiao, who was being pulled by Bibidong, listened to Bibidong's words and his gaze became somewhat dull. He murmured softly, "Is companionship the longest confession of love? Companion is the longest confession of love, even dogs don't believe it. I'm sorry, did the young master accompany you less back then? In the end, it's just licking the dog. Lick the dog until the end, nothing." Qianchengxiao, who was inside the tent, felt a bit angry after driving Bibidong out of the tent. "Grandpa, he actually wants to come over and harm me. I have already repaid everything I owed you in my previous life. In this life, don't expect to harm me again." At this point, Qianchengxiao touched his chin with his hand, his eyes slightly narrowed, and he began to ponder, "There are so many beautiful women in Douluo, why should I hang myself from your tree? I was really blindfolded by lard before hanging from this tree. Practicing now is crucial, only absolute strength can guarantee one's future life." At this point, Qianchengxiao sat cross-legged on the ground, continuing to close his eyes and concentrate on his cultivation. "Teacher, can you match the two of us? You see, Qianchengxiao is your adopted son, and I am your disciple. He is now the holy son of the martial soul hall, while I am the holy maiden of the martial soul hall. The two of us were originally together. In addition, we are the twin stars of the martial soul hall, where the holy maiden is paired with the holy son. Both of us have such good bloodlines. The child we will give birth to will definitely have better bloodlines, even surpassing me and Qianchengxiao. So, teacher, can you help me?" After Bibidong regained his senses, he looked at Qianchengxiao, who was lost in thought for some unknown reason, and asked. Upon hearing Bibidong's voice, Qianchengxiao lowered his head and looked at his eyes timidly. He was also a bit afraid that the other party would not want his worries. His pitiful and delicate appearance immediately made Qianchengxiao furious and said angrily, "Of course not a problem. After all, I've been optimistic about you two little guys since the beginning. Furthermore, if you're not with him, who else does he want to be with? If this stinky kid dares not want you, I'll see if I don't break his leg. Surprisingly so ignorant. Speaking of which, Qianchengxiao, feeling sick, pulled Bibi eastward towards Qianchengxiao's tent. And Bibidong, who was once again pulled towards Qianchengxiao's tent by Qianchengxiao, did not stop him this time. Following behind Qianchengxiao, the corner of her mouth slightly raised. After all, her last few words were spoken in the depths of Chihiro's heart. She also knows what Qianchengxiao values the most. One is to strengthen the martial soul hall, and the other is bloodline. Otherwise, it would not have been possible in the previous life because I was blindfolded by Lard and fell in love with that useless guy Yu Xiaojiang. In the end, Qianchengxiao was afraid that they would be together, and the child he gave birth to had poor talent and bloodline. Therefore, he drugged both her and Qianchengxiao, making them become secret chamber warriors. This time, she wants to catch both lines. Let Qianchengxiao be her wingman first and help her with more assists. After all, in Qianchengxiao's heart, Qianchengxiao and Douluo still hold a very important position. Secondly, if Qianchengxiao still distanced himself from Yu Xiaojiang before encountering him, she would take advantage of Yu Xiaojiang as a useless person to make Qianchengxiao misunderstand again, and then prescribe medicine to her, once again making Qianchengxiao the Douluo of the Chamber of Secrets. Even if he doesn't look at her, even for the sake of Renshue's daughter, Qianchengxiao would be willing to become a Douluo in the Chamber of Secrets again. Thinking of this, Bibidong's slightly raised corners of his mouth became increasingly curved. Qianchengxiao, in this life, no matter what, I will never let go again. This time, I will definitely not lose you again. Even if it means anything, I will keep you. This time, without ambition or desire, even if I give up everything, I won't let go anymore. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. I can't hold back after all. Exposed. 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. I can't hold back after all. Exposed. 1. Stinky kid, you're going crazy. Just as Qianchengxiao entered the cultivation stage, he heard the voice of Qian Sun's illness. After opening his eyes, he found that the angry Chihiro Ji was leading Bibidong into the tent. And Bibidong, who was following behind Qianchengxiao, hid behind him, revealing half a small head and looking at him timidly. Seeing this scene, Qianchengxiao felt speechless. As Qianchengxiao walked in, he saw Qianchengxiao, who was silent, and he was already angry. His anger grew even greater. At the beginning, it was you who voluntarily requested to accompany Bibidong. In just a few days, I've grown tired of the old and new. Didn't I just kick your kid out of bed? As for being so angry. A young man, surprisingly, Xiao Dao kicked out all the girls. Today, even the heavenly King Laozi has arrived, you and Bibidong must restore me to their original state. Otherwise, I'll give you a discount on your legs. Little rabbit, can't we cure you anymore? As Qianchengxiao spoke, he pulled Bibidong to Qianchengxiao's side, his eyes fixed solely on him. However, as Qianchengxiao listened to Qianchengxiao's words, the corners of his mouth twitched continuously, but he almost couldn't laugh. Indeed, Qianchengxiao, this worried old father, is too uneducated. Still liking new and hating old, is it used here for liking new and hating old? He has no new love, how can he have old love? There are only the two of them in the martial soul hall now, how could it be a mix of old and new? This uneducated old man knows how to worry recklessly. Give him a discount on his legs, not to mention that Qiandao Lu disagrees, even Qianchengxiao himself cannot bear to part with it. He knew why Qianchengxiao was so angry and had only adopted them for a few days, but Qianchengxiao had placed all the future of the martial soul hall on him and Bibidong. Due to his presence, Bibidong appears to be his disciple, but in reality, Qianchengxiao, an old father who is either worried or worried, has long regarded Bibidong as his daughter.in.law. He has always wanted to match the two of them so that they can tie the knot, and the child he gave birth to is definitely talented. Originally, Qianchengxiao was worried that Qianchengxiao wouldn't be able to catch up with the little guy Bibidong. But now, a new problem has arisen. At first, you protected Bibidong's appearance, but you scared me. Now, it's only been a few days. Are you driving them out? Stinky kid, speak up. When Qianchengxiao's heart roast that Qianxuan had no culture and was in a daze. Qianxuanji looked at Qianchengxiao for a long time without saying a word, and asked him angrily. Yes, yes, you said yes. Yes, yes, you're right. Stinky kid. Qianxuanji looked at Qianchengxiao's perfunctory expression and slapped him on the head in frustration. Take good care of Donger. If you haven't taken good care of it, I'll give you a discount on your legs. Speaking, Qianxuanji lowered his head and looked straight into Qianchengxiao's eyes. Got it, got it. Watching Qianxuanji put on a fierce and evil look, Qianchengxiao was extremely perfunctory. Don't be in the midst of good fortune, you stinky kid. Speaking, Qianxuanji finished speaking about Qianchengxiao in frustration and turned around to leave from the tent. At this moment, only Qianchengxiao and Bibidong were left in Noda's tent. Qianchengxiao glanced at Bibidong, who was standing in the same place, timidly and cautiously looking at him. He turned around and walked to the bedside, then sat there and began practicing. If you want to sleep, find a place to sleep on your own and don't disturb my cultivation. After speaking, Qianchengxiao ignored the other person and began to cultivate wholeheartedly. But Bibidong, looking at Qianchengxiao who was still very indifferent to her, felt a sense of frustration in his heart. Fortunately, now Qianchengxiao has not directly kicked her out. At the very least, they can still live under the same roof now, right? Thinking of this, Bibidong's slightly congested heart improved a bit. Subsequently, Bibidong looked at Qianchengxiao in the process of cultivation, looking at the other party's already laid bedding, with his eyes slightly glowing. He must have been lying there before, but now he's transitioning from not sleeping to practicing. It must be because he hates himself. Since we can't sleep with him, we should prioritize sleeping next to him. After all, his scent is all on the quilt. Thinking of this, Bibidong eagerly went to bed, wrapped himself tightly in a blanket, greedily sniffing the scent carried by Qianchengxiao on the blanket. Qianchengxiao, who was still practicing, suddenly realized Bibidong's abnormal behavior. Open your eyes and just meet Bibidong. I saw the other person wrapping their entire body under the blanket, with only a small brain bag protruding and watching him from the side. Why don't you sleep well and watch me do something? Perhaps even Qianchengxiao himself didn't notice, and when he said these words, his eyebrows furrowed slightly. Your frown looks so beautiful. On the other hand, Bibidong listened to Qianchengxiao's words and looked at the other person's frown, with a smile on his face. Actually, my heart is filled with joy. Until this moment, Bibidong finally understood. The other party may distance themselves from her, dislike her, and even change their speech and expression. That means he still has a place in his heart and is a very important kind. If the other party really doesn't care about her anymore, they will never distance themselves from her, dislike her, and only have no feelings for her. No matter what she does, the other party can still remain calm and indifferent to the extreme. Now, the other party still has a temper towards her, at least it can prove that Qianchengxiao has not completely given up on her. As long as she works hard, there is still hope. Do you have that serious illness? Suddenly hearing the words spoken by Bibidong, Qianchengxiao felt goosebumps all over his body. After hearing Qianchengxiao's words, Bibidong smiled slightly at him and said, so I'm probably sick. If liking you is a kind of illness, then I am basically terminally ill and incurable. Chengxiao, we have always relied on each other and kept warm. I used to be too young to understand what like means. However, since the day we were adopted, after arriving in this unfamiliar environment of the martial soul hall, I have understood my inner self. Qianchengxiao, I like you. No one in this world likes you more than I do. Speaking of this, Bibidong couldn't help but get up and come to Qianchengxiao, holding the other person's face with both hands. As Bibidong spoke, the distance between Bibidong and Qianchengxiao's lips became even closer. Just as Bibidong was about to kiss him, Qianchengxiao pushed him away directly. Because he was suddenly confused by Bibidong's words, Qianchengxiao didn't react for a moment. Fortunately, being clear-headed is more timely. Qianchengxiao looked at Bibidong, who was pushed away by him, and his eyes narrowed slightly. Bibidong, your true destiny should be Yu Xiaojiang. Isn't it? End of this chapter.